We're going to talk about how do you find credible sources? How do you find sources that you can use? And this is a skill that you can use in your future classes. This is also a skill that you can use in everyday life. So I'm going to put on my library science hat. I think I told you guys I have a degree in library science. And I'm going to give you one of the many ways that you can evaluate sources. And we're going to talk about a bunch of ways you can evaluate sources this semester. Now, I'm only looking at secondary sources right now. Only secondary sources. If you don't remember what a secondary source is, go back to your notes from week 1. So we're only looking at secondary sources right now. So I'm going to talk today about the CRAAP test. And yeah, it's supposed to be kind of like crap. The CRAAP test is when we look at currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. So let's start with currency. Currency is when was a source created. So when we look at secondary sources, we want material that's pretty up to date. So think about if you're taking a biology course. You don't want a biology textbook that's 50 years old. That material's not going to be up to date. So you want something that's more recent. That means that the material is up to date. It's probably going to have the most recent knowledge in the field. So currency, when was it written? Then we have relevance. We want secondary sources that are on the topic we're looking at. So if we're looking at the American Revolution, we want all of our sources to be on the American Revolution. We don't want our sources on World War II. That's a completely different topic. So relevance is literally, are our sources on the topic we're looking for? We don't want to be looking at apples and oranges, basically. The next part is the hard part. It is authority. Who wrote the source? So I'm an expert in American history. So when I write on American history, I kind of know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to write on Chinese history because, yeah, I'm an expert in history, but I don't have a background in Chinese history. So when we look at sources, we need to figure out, is the person who is writing the source an expert in that field? So when we look at websites, for example, anyone can post anything on a website. For example, on Wikipedia, I can go into Wikipedia right now and just add things. But I can add things on things I'm not an expert. And when we look for relevant and when we look for credible sources, we want things written by experts. Not just for college, but in general, we want things written by experts in the field. So we're really trying to look at the author's background. Are they an expert? And typically we want someone who has a degree in that field. So I have a PhD in history, I have a master's in history, I have a bachelor's in history. I'm an expert in history. I'm not an expert in biology. So if I write on biology, take that with a grain of salt. I may not know what I'm talking about. So authority is, did the person who write this, are they an expert in the field? Next is accuracy. Is the information real? So to figure out accuracy, we often have to fact check. So you can see all the books behind me. I have to fact check. When we look on websites, we have to fact check. We can also look at citations. So when we look at books, like the books behind me, there'll be some sort of citation there. But what about websites? How do we check accuracy on websites? Well, often they will have a hyperlink, and a hyperlink tells us where they got their information. And that can tell us, okay, this might be accurate. But sometimes it's actually kind of funny. Some of the hyperlinks will take you to things not even related. And it's like, wait a minute, you got your information from here? This may not be accurate. So basically, any information we come across, we have to fact check it. This is in college. This is in the real world. This is on the web. This is on social media. We have to fact check our information to ensure that it's accurate. And then last but not least, we have to think about the purpose. Why was this information created? So in college, when you do college assignments, the purpose should be for education. That is the purpose. Why was this source created? For education. But in the real world, we're going to come across information where the purpose is a little bit vague. So if you go on social media and you watch a video by an influencer, their purpose is to make money. Like, that's their purpose. They want you to click on the reel. They want you to click on a site because when you click on it, they're making money. That is the purpose of the um, information they're spreading because they need to make money off it. So we have to think about, why was the information created? Well, propaganda, the purpose of propaganda is to promote a certain narrative, is to convince people to think like you. Well, that's not always helpful. So for school purposes, we want information, we want sources where the purpose is to educate someone. Now, when you're looking at a website, the best way to find purpose is to click the About section, and every good website will have a place where it says About. And it will, if you read into it, it will tell you your purpose, tell you the website's purpose. I can speak, I swear. So, for example, the purpose might be to educate, the purpose might be to promote a certain value. When you read the About section of a website, it will usually tell you the purpose. So, this is a quick overview of how do we evaluate information. We're going to keep practicing this material the rest of the semester. This is just the beginning. Rewatch this video if it's confusing, but we're going to keep moving forward and thinking about, what is CRAAP and what isn't the best source? What passes the CRAAP test and what fails it?